Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Harley Carnes Podcast. Harley on the headlines. Just me talking about what's up. I'm kind of sorry I was gone for a couple of weeks, but, everybody needs a break, I guess. Thank you for giving me a bit of your time. Time is precious. I do get that. So I want to thank you for being here, for liking, following, subscribing, helping spread the invitation, too. So thank you for that, too. A couple of headlines, and I do mean short stories. Markwayne Mullins' nomination to be the next Secretary of Homeland Security is advancing through the Senate for confirmation. He won't have any real problem, not even the Democrats who want to be stuck in the mud at every turn. You can expect confirmation pretty soon. ICE agents are being deployed to the major airports where TSA shortages have led to very big crowds and long delays. The TSA unions don't like it. Democrats don't like it. And it doesn't have to be this way either. If Democrats would simply do their job and pass the routine funding of Homeland Security, there wouldn't be an issue. If you go to an airport and you have to be there 4 hours early, longer than the flight itself, just to get through security and get on a plane, thank the Democrats for that. If you go to an airport and ICE, which will start handling security at many of the checkpoints, takes a look at your identification, I hope you're legal. If not, you may not get to fly today. Democrats are their own worst enemies. They don't want secure borders. They do want illegals to vote. They don't want to make sure that voting is something only citizens can do. And then they want to complain about the problems they create and try to blame the president for them. I mean, they're looking stupid these days. They're really just not looking smart. Oh, and those same Democrats want to spend billions on top of billions to help Ukraine fight Russia, but they balk at properly funding our forces in a war, to be sure, it'll be a short war, against Iran, which has long declared its intention to destroy Israel and attack America. Democrats are on the wrong side of just about what every poll indicates the people of this country want them to do. I kind of thought when you ran for public office, you were promising to represent the wishes of the people who sent you. Oh, well, right? President Trump took a few questions before getting on Air Force One for a trip to Memphis. He says Iran is ready to make a deal. He said Iran made the phone call. And he wants a good deal to make sure the Strait of Hormuz is reopened and stays open. He'd like to see the war end, short as it's been. It's only, 4 weeks. It appears Iran took him at his word when he said Iran's power plants were next on the Air Force and Navy's target list. They have learned by now. The man does what he says he's going to do. As is usual, he does not talk about the details of any agreement yet because they don't have one yet. Says wait for the negotiations to come up with something. Reaction to the news, though, was immediate on Wall Street. Stock prices are jumping. Oil prices are easing. Iran denied they were in talks with the U.S., but time after time after time, when President Trump said something was happening in this situation, it was happening. Iran, to put it gently, has a problem handling the truth. That was one stupid wreck at LaGuardia Airport this morning. An Air Canada Express jet arriving in New York from Montreal had just landed when a Port Authority fire truck pulled out in front of the jet and was hit. No way for the plane to go around. It was already on the ground, and it would have needed a lot more than the runway available to try to get back in the air before hitting the truck. 72 passengers and 4 crew members on the plane. The pilot and the co-pilot died in the collision. The 2 firefighters in the truck were injured, along with 39 people on the plane. Don't know if the controller cleared the truck onto the runway or if the fire truck driver was just not paying attention. But that kind of bozo stunt simply not supposed to happen. And I'm going to spend a minute on this. This is one of the most upsetting and sad times for me in a career of telling stories, first on the radio and lately online. The announcement on Friday that the new executives at CBS took a look at the beans, counted them, and concluded that CBS Radio News, the network with more than 400 radio stations across the nation, ought to be shut down, fade it down, replace it with silence. No radio news operation ever has won more awards for excellence than CBS News. It was known as the Tiffany Network, meaning the gleaming, sparkling diamond at the top of the business of broadcast news. The Tiffany Network. You will be able to hear and watch on TV as others extol the indelible history of CBS News Radio in the few weeks left for the operation. In the back of my mind and my heart, there is the dream that someone might come along and buy it, keep it on the air. Hey, Elon Musk, this could be a good opportunity for you. I spent more than 24 years with CBS, both on the air at the blowtorch 50,000-watt flagship radio station of the company, WCBS, and at the CBS Radio Network. Before that, I had some great years with ABC at a couple of its most important stations, including WABC and WLS in Chicago. And they've changed hands a few times, and it's a different day there, too. ABC Radio Networks will likely be the biggest beneficiary of the killing off of CBS Radio Network. ABC has been the largest network in terms of the number of stations, but there is a great difference. If you were tuning in to the dominant news and all news operations in virtually every major city in America, it was typically the one with CBS News at the top of the hour. So soon, by the end of May, if some of those stations want to continue to lead the news business in their market, their obvious choice is going to be ABC. NBC used to be the third leg of that head table of broadcast news. These days, it's a streaming service. You can still get the news there, but it's all online. I'm not casting aspersions. You, who get your information online primarily, are the reason this is happening. We've watched it coming for a long time. NBC threw in the broadcast towel a few years ago and started streaming. I have no idea how well that's working as a business model. So that little voice in the back of my head says, some whale somewhere with billions at his beck could maybe step up and put the Tiffany Network online, build the streaming service that it already has into something serious and vibrant, and maybe make some money at it. I don't know. For those of us who reveled in the magic of radio, this is sad. I'll try to explain why. A great many people will remember these days. Now I'm going to sound old. When I was a kid, I had a 6-transistor radio that I would listen to after lights out. It seemed magical to me that lying there in a tiny Stanley, North Carolina, on Black Snake Road, I could listen to voices of people, godlings in my mind, from WoWo in Fort Wayne, Indiana, WLS in Chicago, WSM in Nashville, John R. on WLAC in Nashville, Tennessee. And on a good night, if the stratosphere was right, I might even pick up XERF in Acuña, Mexico, just across the river from Del Rio, Texas, where Wolfman Jack entertained America. Amazing, the magical world that radio was in those days. And while music was really the point, there was also news, typically at the top of the hour. Doing news was a requirement in those days. If you were fortunate enough to have a license to broadcast and make money on airwaves that in fact belonged to the citizens of the nation, then the FCC considered it a requirement that you, as the owner of the signal, should provide a public service. That took the form of all manner of public services, which means free announcements about whatever was happening within the sound of the broadcast, and it meant nearly all radio stations had a news department. And I always found it fascinating to hear the stories told by some really great broadcasters. I thought DJs were cool, of course. There was a swagger to what they did. But once they stopped talking, that's pretty much where the importance of what they had to say ended. Whereas the information contained in newscasts could, and often did, change lives. It always affected lives. Sometimes it saved lives. I get it. I do. things change. Technology makes new ideas reality. We don't listen to the radio much anymore for music. We listen to streaming services, Apple, Spotify, and the rest. In the car, there's still radio because it's an easy choice. But when we get out of the car, it's in the phone, whatever you're looking for. It's in the computer that we carry around with us for communication, for information, for alerts, and for entertainment. It's created enormous new opportunities, and it has created a vast landfill of trash and low-rent material, and even potentially damaging fakery. Different stories for another time. It's a new world, and it has claimed another great organization. That said, for those of us who held CBS News with some degree of reverence, for me personally, the news business was a playground in this way. There was always a much, much longer list of potential stories than there was time to tell them. It was important at professional operations like ABC and CBS and NBC that we write the stories that we did. For a 5-minute top-of-the-hour newscast, that was the rule. Somewhere between 8 and 12 stories could be made to fit. The longest story was usually the first one, the lead, which was typically the unquestioned most important story of the moment. Hurricanes, wars, multi-state snowstorms clearly rise to the top. There were usually 3 or 4 stories that you knew should also be done in the interest of keeping people informed about whatever we all thought was important. There was also time, most of the time, to do stories that a listener in California wouldn't encounter from Texas or from Florida or Michigan, and vice versa. I just really loved writing news stories succinctly, memorably, and honestly. It was fun to tell them, too, though not always. I and many of us were near tears for nearly, a good 3 days running right after 9/11. Those were some hard days, I'll tell you. I mean, at the networks in Manhattan, we could smell the smoke in the air from the holes in the ground where the towers fell. But the horrible times were, thank God, in a tiny minority. Every day, there were opportunities to tell a story, at least, that people might remember because it made them feel good, maybe laugh out loud, or even be reassured that some part of what it is to walk the earth was worthwhile. The announcement says that on May 22nd, CBS Radio News will die. My hope is that it might morph into a streaming service. I have no intel, no inside information that it might happen or even be possible. Wait a minute, scratch that. Possible is a big word. It goes along with the word anything, right? So we live in hope. The point is we move onward, ever forward, if we can figure out which way that is. Now, for me, moving forward is writing novels mostly. Why? Because it's the ultimate writer's playground. It's luxury to have the space and the time to really, really tell a story. I've been writing novels for years. For the most part, I'd write one, put the manuscript on a shelf, and then set out to write a new one. There was no pressure to get it published because I was on CBS. I wrote because that's what writers do. And I love it or I wouldn't do it. Anyhow, we're getting them all polished up and ready to join the published list. I just hope that when they do drop, you'll pick one up and read it. And I'll spend more time on that subject another day. But when they actually flip the off switch on CBS, we will spend a bit of time looking back and hopefully looking forward. Like I said, it's just not easy. So thank you for joining me for Harley on the Headlines today. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's a different world. All those years on the radio, I never had to beg people to help promote the station. We had a whole sales department for that. People were making money everywhere. Salespeople, selling ads and making commissions. Executives, probably more of them than we needed. But they were all making big bucks. And those of us on the air, well, our paychecks didn't bounce either. So now I open and close every little podcast by saying, gee, sure hope y'all will help me out. Give me a hand here because that's how this here system works. Please hit like, follow, subscribe, and send some emails. And suggest they tune in. Do the same. In every case, I appreciate it. In the meantime, I'm Harley Carnes. We'll talk again. I promise. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.